We should start this bitch.
Okay. Are you smoking today?
Yeah. You?
Hmm.
All right. What are you smoking?
What is this? I don't remember. I actually don't remember, but it's some sort of a sativa that's supposed to make you happy.
Oh, nice. Well, that's a good idea. I should probably not have the strong indica that I've currently got. Welcome back to Blunt in the Bedroom. I'm here with Aurelie. My name's Patty, and we're recording from the cozy comfort of each of our bedrooms in the wildly wonderful legal cannabis state of Oregon. We're having a blunt, and we're going to be blunt. Maybe not blunt enough, maybe too blunt. You decide. Well, tonight, I think we both get an F for doing our homework. Or D. I don't know. We both like spent half a second Googling this. But
I always
we
give myself 2 full minutes.
you gave the search 2 full minutes.
I
That's
think I
fair.
did.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. We were really excited about conspiracy theories, and we wanted to start with the Egyptian pyramids, thinking there's just this abundance of different conspiracy theories. And maybe there are, but we just didn't see it on our first look. I thought maybe someone would have compiled a top 10 conspiracy theories about the pyramids, but they were all really lackluster that I saw in my 2 minutes of Googling. And so, since we kind of failed, we're going to just do our research live, trying to figure out some conspiracy theories about the pyramids. Because what we both discovered was all that was really available was things about saying that the aliens built the pyramids. So
Yeah.
you found two?
To what? I'm sorry, say that again.
Is that what you found too?
Yeah,
Really,
that's
it
all I
was,
found was the aliens. I thought there was gonna be more than that, but no. Like maybe
well,
like the Romans actually went and built it for them or something, something ridiculous like that, but there was nothing but the aliens thing.
huh. Well, because the things that came up that I think we're just going to go ahead and research live tonight and talk about were the idea that we maybe shouldn't be digging up mummies and tombs in the pyramids and in other structures that we find buried in ancient Egypt. Because there's a whole lot of people who think there are spells on that. Don't fuck with it. You're gonna be bringing bad luck upon yourself. And I swear this is what we should look up. I swear there is a story out there of some particular thing that even as it was passed, whoever bought it next or whatever. I mean, this is probably urban legend shit, but whoever bought this thing next ended up, having death and sadness visited upon them.
Right here. I don't know how true this is.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and cite the source right now so everybody can know that I'm not acting to think this is some sort of credible source. I have no idea if it is. It may be, probably not. It's express.co.uk is the source, the website that I'm on right now. And it says Egyptian curse, how 22 archaeologists mysteriously died after opening ads. Tutankhamun's, I think that's King Tut's tomb.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So there's a specific conspiracy that there's a curse from King Tutankhamun's stuff.
That's what I assume. I haven't read it yet, but okay. So it says his name, but let's just say King Tut's tomb is said to hold a curse that was broken by archaeologists when they entered to search its contents and affected more than 20 of them in a matter of years. It was revealed in a documentary. Ooh, there's a documentary on it.
Oh,
This kind of reminds me of Final Destination movies, like Death
oh,
Follows Them.
yeah. A mummy's curse. A curse alleged to be cast upon anyone who disturbs the mummy of an ancient Egyptian, especially a pharaoh.
I mean, I wonder how much of this is the ancestors too, because I can't imagine 5,000 years from now or whatever, someone's gonna just disturb my grave or my descendants or my ancestors grave, and if I can do absolutely anything about it, I'm not going to. Like, especially if it's just for the sake of taking it and making money off of it somewhere else. Like, I mean, if it's like curiosity or something, like trying to understand a culture, I might be able to, like, you know, it may not like it. I'm personally am not gonna care because I feel like once we're dead, and like I don't really care what happens to the body. But like it's a respect thing at some point. So if they're like disrespectful about it, I'm probably gonna want to haunt them in a bad way.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, especially if it's British military looters taking it back to put in the British Museum of Art.
Exactly.
Then we've
Taking
got a
it to make
problem.
money off of it somewhere else and not
Yeah.
even giving it to the people that's there. Like
Yeah.
I would absolutely haunt colonizers in any way. Like there's no like yeah. Like 1,000 years from now or whatever, if some like if anybody comes here and decides that all of a sudden the people that live here are, whatever, I'm gonna probably feel a way about it.
Well, so now you think this one's true then, because you know that if it was you, you would
Yeah.
definitely do that. You would like bring
Think
about
yeah,
bad luck or a curse of some kind.
I do. I mean, it may not be the exact same as how they probably believed back then. They had deities and all that stuff. For me, I think it's more energy. And if enough of my energy stays in one place, enough that I'm like still caring about such things, then yeah, I'm gonna do something about it. And I think that's probably what it is for them, because at some point, their energy might still be lingering. I mean, it's definitely they're here. I mean, they say that it's like a guarantee that you basically at some point drank what's her name, Cleopatra's pee in the water because it's all cycled or whatever. Like I read that somewhere. I don't know how true that is either. But
I've
like
heard,
it's
I've
all
heard that in the
cycled.
context of the water you drank was once dinosaur pee. So same
Yeah.
idea, I guess. That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know why I heard Cleopatra. So, I mean, it was probably one of those. Yeah, you know what? Almost definitely, it was one of those lists of Pinterest useless facts or random facts or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
It's
sure.
just like 50 facts about, I don't know, Egyptians or whatever. Like there's so many of them, and I go down so many rabbit holes. I know so much useless shit that I could probably do those little Snapple caps. You remember that back in the day?
Mm-hmm.
That had the little useless facts. I used to be obsessed with those too.
Well, I guess we're about to see how many of those are pyramid based.
Yeah. Well, quite a few. They so apparently they had air conditioners in them too.
What?
Like they were so advanced for what we know. And actually, this might be a little bit of a tangent, but it's not a long one. But I wonder, I as I was researching this too, I wonder how much information, like how advanced we would really be if the people that colonized these places didn't destroy the libraries and kill off the cultures and like strip people down to being basically any other animal species. Like what if like what how far would we be right now? Because we're like over in our society, air conditioners haven't been around that long, not thousands of years.
Right.
So
It's
anyway,
true.
that's
Apparently,
right.
these Saqqara tombs are said to have mummy curses inscribed on the walls.
So which ones?
Saqqara, Saqqara. Ooh, yikes. It says one of the inscriptions warns that the gods will wring any impure trespasser's neck like that of a goose. That's pleasant.
See, that's the kind of curse I would have. If it's unpure intent, that would get me.
Sure, that makes sense. Well, that reminds me of this is not well, sort of ancient-ish. When we were in India, we were at this 400-year-old temple thing, and we got in line with the other worshipers going in to do their things that they do with the powder and their ritual in there. And my brother-in-law was with us, and we noticed some people ahead of us like looking at us and talking about us. And my brother-in-law leaned over and he was like, huh. He says, look, he says that they see you are here to learn. And I was like, okay, all right. So
I
that
like
felt,
that.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I always get flattered whenever someone like puts genuine effort into speaking Spanish to someone, or something like that. Like because if you try, like if you go to a lot of tourist places, not everyone will do that. Not everyone will be respectful. Most people are gonna, well, not most people, but too many people will act like it's all a spectacle, right? Like taking pictures of random people just sitting outside with their kids without their consent. Like they're just like, something to be just. But when you actually try to like go in there and talk to the people and learn about it and everything like that, I think that that's awesome. I always prefer it that way.
Yeah, I was glad. I was glad that they weren't offended by us being there or thinking that we were being dicks.
I mean, if you were standing in line just like with everyone else,
Yeah.
I cut the line. Did you see that video? This woman, I think it was a German woman. She climbed up. Was it the Egyptian pyramids or Machu Picchu? I can't remember, but it was like a ancient site that people are not supposed to just walk onto. Like there's, you can stand back and take pictures, but you're not supposed to step on. It's disrespectful. And she just did it. She kept climbing up, and all the other tourists, everybody was yelling at her to get down because I'm sure they were embarrassed. If I was with a group of tourists and they were doing some shit like that, I would be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Look at all of us like we're assholes. But a lot of them were like she actually had to be physically like thrown on the floor and like almost like I don't know if she got arrested, but it was enough that it was like, what the fuck?
Ugh.
Yeah, it went viral for a little bit. I'm surprised you didn't see it.
I mean, I know you can go to the top of the pyramids, but I don't know if that's a super special, expensive thing.
Probably, I would think so, because I don't know. But this might have been Machu Picchu. I don't remember, but I know it was like an ancient site that you're not that it's like you gotta witness from a distance.
Sure.
Because some places, like in where I'm from, in Dominican Republic in Santiago, in the city that's closest to where my parents live, there's a monumento there. It's not ancient; it's like early Spanish settler days, I think. But you can climb on it and all that stuff. Is not like not allowed. But if
Okay.
it were not allowed and people kept doing it, especially tourists, like it's going to be a big deal.
Right.
Disrespectful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's embarrassing being other places and realizing the ones doing dumb shit is the Americans.
Oh my God, when I was in Italy, I don't know if I told you the story already. I was in Italy, right? I went to go get food with one of my co-workers, and this woman heard us speaking English. So she's like, this Italian woman. We're in Italy. They belong there. Anyway, she gets like really excited, like, oh my gosh, I speak English too. Let's speak English together. She didn't say those words, but that's like basically, so I'm like, let's speak English together. And anyway, so we're talking and she's asking me where I'm from, and I'm like, New York. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. I've always wanted to go there, whatever. And my coworker's being an asshole right then and there, right? But okay, you're talking about America, we're Americans. And then so she's talking about New York being beautiful. And I was like, well, Italy's beautiful too. Like it's, all this stuff. And he's like, no, it's not. It's dirty. I was like, no, you didn't. There is no reason to be such an asshole. Like, I was so embarrassed. Like, how American can you be? We were in Italy, an Italian restaurant, speaking to an Italian person, and he just says that like it's totally okay. I just thought that was so disrespectful and rude. And her face, like she's just like didn't even know what to say.
Was it though?
Was it
Was it
what?
dirty?
I mean, we lived in kind of the not the best area, but we
No.
could say the same. They could say the same about America,
Oh, well,
about
yeah.
New York. She could have said things like that about New York, but she didn't. She appreciated the
Yeah.
architecture or the whatever. Like there's a lot that I appreciated there. I didn't love that they burned trash on the side of the road, but whatever. This is their place. I'm like that. I don't need to focus on that when I'm talking to someone about their country
Right.
or ever, because I still appreciated stuff. Like they have big cobblestone roads. I love that. We're off topic, but
Yeah, we're off topic, but that's okay.
Americans.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, well, think about it though, Americans. Well, see, we're not off topic because American that like I can just barrel through and take and explore and
Yeah.
have whatever I want. I mean, that all comes from, colonizer East India Trading Company, the British business arm of colonizing.
Hmm. I don't know what that means. Was that how?
Um, it was so it wasn't some of the colonizing was the government, but some was also a big good portion was corporate. So it
Mhm.
was the East India, I'm pretty sure that's right, East India Trading Company. Yeah. Not that any of it went to the Indian people, but yeah, so that was where was I going with that? God, this
But
is
don't the British still have like ancient rubies and stuff that India's like, give us our shit back.
Oh yeah, it's probably in the queen or like the king's crown. In fact, should we look that up? I think it is.
I think so. And so they like
Hmm.
wear it like it's no problem.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if anybody ever complains to me about the welfare system here and doesn't address their welfare system, where they give everything just for the royal families to just like live in palaces and shit, those are the biggest welfare scammers in the world. And they don't
No
even actually
shit.
rule anything. They're just there. They're just symbolic. It's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
People are fighting, and I feel a little justified in like it may be rude because I'm not from this country, but I've literally seen British people in videos, like on the news and stuff, addressing this. So it's not like it's not an opinion that they don't have. Like if they were still cool with it, that's their business, but they're not.
Definitely. Well, and see, we're not off topic because there is so well, okay, let's look this up. I think we should deep dive into Egyptian things that are still in the British Museum.
Mm-hmm.
London Museum? British Museum of Art? Which one is it?
I'm just gonna say in Europe. The British Museum has over 100,000 artifacts. Germany has 80,000. Another one in England. So this is two different London museums has 80,000. Paris has 77,000 artifacts. Boston 45,000, Ann Arbor, Michigan 45,000, Pennsylvania 42,000, and it just keeps going.
Oh
But
my
it's
God.
millions of things that are still just elsewhere. And honestly, like, okay, so I don't know if I don't know about this, but I kind of, when it's in a museum, I don't feel as much of an issue with it because at least like saying that it's from that culture and trying to educate. So like, I mean, I'd understand if Egyptian wanted their stuff back, but like, it's not something that bothers me that much. But the British having shit in their crowns and stuff and all of that, that's like just so they could look fancy. That
That's
bothers
bullshit. Well, I mean, it obviously it's going to depend on the thing though, because there's where was it from? Pretty sure it's like a West African country. It was the Benin bronzes. It was these uh imagery, I believe, hammered into bronze plates that had been all lining a building, an old building, an ancient building. And these bronze tiles told their history. Um, and just bunches of them had been ripped off the building and scattered to the different European countries.
Oh
And
my
so,
gosh.
yeah, John Oliver did this big piece on it, and it really caused a stir. And so there's been cycling through calls for, especially the British Museum, but other ones too, to take a look and find their Benin, whatever, Benin bronzes and fucking return them
Yeah.
because it's, like just saying, well, we have it in a museum now to honor that country is like,
Yeah,
no,
that's
because
true.
y'all stole it.
Yeah. That's
So,
that's true.
so, but that's
Yeah,
good.
their
Some of
stuff
them are
back.
getting returned.
Yeah,
Should do more of that.
it's true.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize apparently the Rosetta Stone itself, the Rosetta Stone is in the British Museum of Art.
The language learning platform?
No, the actual stone that the learning platform was named after.
Oh.
It was it was a really big deal when that one was found because what it had was the same text in three different languages. And so it shed light on a lot of ancient language, like because it showed all three together. They were able to understand a whole lot more about ancient languages than they had previously because they could cross-reference
Hmm.
what they had among the three of them.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And mummies. I mean, the British Museum has mummies, just actual dead
Which are
bodies.
yeah, they're actual dead bodies.
Oh, there was
Huge
something
significance.
about that. I want to say, was it Tutankhamun? There was I'm gonna look it up, but there was a mummy that was brought over for a tour, so it must have been King Tut to be toured around the US and various places, right? The whole entourage of things to be on exhibit. And I believe they had to like create not a driver's license, but a photo ID for him
Oh,
because it was
it was a
human
passport.
remains. Was it a
Yeah,
passport?
it
Yeah.
was a
Okay.
passport going into Paris. That was
Okay.
actually, it's so funny you say that. That was one of the useless facts that I read on Pinterest. That's
Amazing.
how I
Okay.
know that specific thing. But yeah, because Paris has a law where no body can, like physical body, can enter their country without a passport. And so that like somehow include, I wonder if that includes unborn babies.
Oh,
No, it
that.
can't. Because they're not like technically, like they're not like a person yet.
Right.
They don't have like a social security number or whatever.
Right. Not till, yeah. Or according to the Bible, because the Bible says when they take their first breath. So, oh, it wasn't King Tut. It was Ramesses the second.
Okay, but was it in Paris
Let's
and a
see.
passport?
Looks like it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, okay. So the fact check on this is saying the story about the passport after death is true, but the image that was going around it is fake.
Hmm.
A viral meme circulating. I'm on USA Today, an article from 2021. So in 1974, Ramesses II was sent on a flight to Paris for preservation and maintenance work. Uh, a little bondo on the chin, babe. Huh? Um, okay, but since French law required every person living or dead to fly with a valid passport, Egypt was forced to issue a passport to the pharaoh 3,000 years after his death. It's amazing. It's amazing. There was another weird thing about some pharaoh. Maybe it was King Tut. I could look it up too. But they had enough of his like trachea and throat stuff that they were able to recreate it and 3D print it or something and then force air through it such that we think we kind of know what his voice would have sounded like, which is weird.
That is.
So
Did it
weird.
sound different? Do you know if it sounded different than what we sound like today? Is that a silly question? I don't know.
I mean, I don't think it's a silly question, but I don't know that the sound they were able to make was articulate enough for us to really compare
Yeah.
it. You know, it sounded more like a squeezy duck or
Hmm. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so what am I looking up here? Looking up Egyptian pharaoh recreate voice. Okay. Okay, well, apparently USA Today has been all about these Egyptian mummy articles.
Hmm.
Uh, so this says they were able to create. Okay, so they use 3D printing, medical scanners, and an electronic larynx, and they were able to reproduce a single vowel sound, which sounds something like the vowels in the words bed and bad. So
Oh
it's like,
wow! So they can make it sound different.
well, it's just a single sound, but it's like I'm gonna try to play it. But
Okay.
here's my guess at it before we play it. I think that's what it's gonna sound like. Maybe it's a
Okay.
little clearer than that. Eh. It's ridiculous. I should definitely cut that out. It's funny. Because oh yeah, we're recording. All right, I'm gonna play this.
That's really close to what you did.
I've heard it before though.
Technology.
Oh, you can. I think we can clearly hear the voice.
Isn't that weird?
Yes.
Oh, see, Egypt's so much more fun if we're not serious about our research.
How crazy would it be to actually still have the text of Timbuktu?
The what? The text?
Like just
Oh,
what was burned. Like, how cool would that be? How much did they know?
I know. Is
That
that
had
the
to be
same
a
thing
lot.
as the Library of Alexandria?
I think so. Yeah, I believe so. I could be wrong because I think
I,
they probably did the same thing all over the place.
I agree.
So, but I mean, I just wonder because we would have kept evolving with technology and everything. But so, how far would we be now if we hadn't been missing those 1,000 years?
Right. It's like they got places again, but they did it with fossil fuels, which was has not gone well. Hmm.
Yeah,
Wow. Well, I have a few more things I could look up, like the Mamiya stuff.
yeah. I'm on the Mamiya thing right now.
Okay.
The Wikipedia page. So apparently, it was powdered human mummies.
Oh my God.
Um, I'm just gonna start it from the beginning because I don't know how to explain it. So Mamiya refers to several different preparation. Wait, hold on. So it was history of medicine from mineral pitch to powdered human mummies, in ancient Greek medicine and medieval European medicine. Uh, Hold on, I'm just saying like little things. I don't know how to explain this. Can you explain it?
I mean,
Oh, I see here. It was considered a cure-all for many ailments, and it was also used as an aphrodisiac. That's weird. I wonder
ew.
how that works.
Ugh. Ground up human. Get you, get you all juiced up.
You know, they say, and it's
Mm.
not something I can validate in any way because first of all, I'd never researched it because I don't want my internet to start coming up with weird shit on my algorithm. And also because it's not something I would ever try, so I don't need to Google it. Anyway, apparently people use cat pee, drink cat pee as an aphrodisiac.
Ugh.
I hope saying that just now is not going to make it come in my algorithm because I like useless facts, but things like that is just. Ugh. Actually, I might have read that on a useless facts list.
I mean, how
Might.
hard up for good sex are people, honestly, that you would decide you needed to do that?
And there's other things you can take,
I
like
mean,
plants that you can take for that.
like we. Well, alrighty. Oh, I need to grab my weed.
Okay, so I would definitely like to continue talking about this mummy pill situation because I think it's crazy. But you know what? There's going to be a time where probably one time where somebody's gonna be like, they ate beef liver for iron. Ew.
I agree.
So we probably shouldn't, judge too harshly. For me, it's more the not caring about the bodies you're consuming thing that, that a little bit is like, ugh, like how do you even like.
I mean, 3,000-year-old jerky? Ugh, ew, what?
Yeah.
I just can't. Well, and the part that gets me is I'm pretty sure it was like a fancy thing, you
Yeah.
know? Like the people
Yeah.
who were, well, I don't know, were they the most gullible or something to the whole snake? Was this like the snake oil era, right?
Okay. So just to a little bit give them the benefit of the doubt, there are people nowadays that will buy a box of dehydrated water where you just have to add water to it to turn it into water because it's dehydrated water.
Wait, what?
There's people out here. Well, I don't know. I actually know how many people actually buy it, but like people pay like huge subscription for mystical water. That one I do know is something actually people pay for. Mystical water that costs so much more. So it's like, okay, maybe they got it from some like just fancy place somewhere, or maybe they got it out of their grandmother's sink in holes in the backyard or something. Like we don't know. And to me, the fact that people would even pay that is like, it's not surprising to me that people would have done this at some point as a cure-all.
Yeah.
I
Ugh.
just wonder if it actually like worked as aphrodisiac or as whatever to cure things. Like I wonder if like how would that have worked scientifically? So maybe they're like immune, like it has like certain viruses or like some certain bacteria that you just kind of become immune to because your body like attacks it, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder
Oh,
how.
well, God, how did they not make themselves sick taking ground
Yeah.
up? Ew, because you're right. What if these people had died with like horrible boils of things and then you just like grind it up
Yeah. And it
in
was
order?
just seen as a side
Ew.
effect, a potential side effect, because probably they didn't all die from it. Otherwise, first person that did it would have, been the end.
I want to know how it was consumed. It's so disgusting. I'm gonna keep gagging and I shouldn't, but ew.
Yeah.
Because I just imagine
I mean,
like
it might
grinding
have a
it up and
smell.
snorting it up their snoot.
Ooh. I thought they just ate a piece of it. Oh my goodness. How we would with mushrooms.
Oh. Ew. Okay. Mumia was consumed in a few ways. Swallowed, rubbed into injuries, mixed into drinks, and applied directly to the affected area. Ew. In the 19th century, mummies were burned to produce steam on the rail line from Cairo to Alexandria. Ew. In the United States,
Ooh.
entrepreneurs imported mummy rags to make paper. Well, what? That seems like a bit of a limited resource.
Yeah. And what would make that paper superior to any other? Would it be kind of like leather, I wonder?
I mean, it's because
What happened?
everyone was like, it's from Egypt.
Yeah.
Seriously, I think it was this big phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yeah, disgusting. Okay, mumia was prescribed for everything from headaches to heart attacks.
Oh, prescribed.
Yeah.
What I'm because I was picturing this whole time of like a traveling salespeople that were just like pitching this, these cure all medicine, how they have it on old TVs.
I kind of think that the salesmen going around doing that became the apothecaries. Like I think the that
Oh.
is one in the same. It's just the evolution of pharmacology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and I understood that to be a little bit of like a hey, let's scoop up uh people who would otherwise go to the local healing woman,
Yeah.
right? So I'm talking, what would this be? Late 1800s, early 1900s, like Victorian slash Edwardian, which is when all this mumia Egyptian hysteria was going on. But at that time, it was when, like the local healing woman who understood her herbs and everything was being bypassed because people could go to the apothecary on the corner.
Mm.
Well, what the apothecary knew how to do was mix a little bit of an herb that would be laxative into the little pastilles, the little pills they were rolling up, they were making. And so when people take their pills and it gives them the shits a little bit, they're like, oh, it's doing something. And thus, men stole the healing industry from the cunning women of the day.
Oh wow. It
Yep, let
always
it
comes
be
back to
known.
the patriarchy,
It
doesn't it?
always does.
It's almost like that's the whole problem.
You might be onto something there.
If I read that sentence I just said in a book, it would be like she says dripping with sarcasm.
I like it. You're a reader. So yeah. The little dialogue you must have going on in your head is pretty
All the
great.
time. It's crazy and exhausting and time consuming. I mean, I can't help but make this can't make help but make me think about the Radium Girls too.
The Radium Girls.
Yeah, you haven't heard that story? It wasn't like hold on. It wasn't like the 20s, I think, maybe, but it was these women worked in a factory where they put so radium was like the big thing at the time, and it was like considered, like a cure or whatever. Like they used it in a lot of different things. So it was used in paint at this time. So they worked in a watch factory, and the little tiny brushes, it was most effective, because they painted because it glowed, radium glows. So they wet it with their mouths. And so it over time they like got really, really sick, and they sued, and I can't remember if they won the lawsuit, probably not, but a lot of them died. And it was like it would start with like little stuff, and then next thing you know, within like a year or so, half of their face would have been gone. It kind of fell off in a way. They had huge like reproductive issues and just in wheelchairs. It was really bad. There's actually a movie. I mean, you can also find the story on like Wikipedia, but the movie was pretty good. But it shows like what happened. It was that was just a very tragic thing. But it's like no one believed them. They were just women,
Just women.
that should have just been lucky to have a job in the first place. Because if they
Ugh.
complained, it was like, they were kind of ignored. And then even after they knew, like they proved that even after they knew that it was causing those issues, they didn't say anything because the watches were still selling, and no one knew about the factory workers.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Feel like that's what we're gonna think about the children mining cobalt for our electric car
Oh,
batteries.
yeah. Have you seen those conditions? Oh man, I'm seriously considering switching to a minimalist phone. I mean, for a lot of reasons, but that's one of them. That's kind of the push I need.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have
And
a
the
lot of
reality.
learning the hard way to do, don't we?
Yeah.
Come on, humans.
I mean, I think the sad part is the conscious stupidity part. Because if we really didn't know what was happening, that would be one thing. Like if we really genuinely didn't and couldn't understand it, but we do, and there's so many people just arguing against it. Like there's still people that support, like a lot of people that support Israel right now, like fully support Israel. Like it's colonization 101, and we're watching it happen.
Right? It's genocide 101, and we're watching it happen.
I mean, it's what happened to the native people here.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
probably
yeah.
not all going to disappear. There's still going to be some around, but the culture, everything, all of that is going to be mostly gone away.
Do they think they've been patient sitting there watching them over the walls since, well, I don't know how long the walls have been there, but they've been herded into that space and entrapped and made a second
And
class
treated really
citizen
badly.
for,
Yeah.
yeah, since the 1940s.
Yeah.
Like, really? Did you not think that that was going to create an uprising?
I mean, it's a
Mm.
shame what it took for the world to really start paying attention, but it
Yeah.
did help. It helped in that now people are looking and watching.
Although, in fairness, I've seen Free Palestine signs for years,
Hmm. But I
but
see a lot more of them now.
yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, whispers didn't work. Here's the brick through our window, and yet we're like, la la la, it's fine.
I just think there's too many people that are willing to not even like acknowledge that it's happening
Yeah,
and that it's been happening for so long. That's the part that really gets to me
right,
is the choice. Because sincere ignorance to me is something I can tolerate, but genuine conscious stupidity,
right. It's the willful ignorance that I struggle with,
yeah.
but I'm sure that I'm willfully ignorant about some things too. So,
But if it was presented to you, if suddenly it was like, okay, this is what's happening, and you saw it, and whether it be a video or whatever, or even if somebody said it to you, wouldn't you at least give it the courtesy of looking into it?
hmm, it depends. I mean, current me, I'd like to think so. There was probably a point though when anything like that seemed far away
Yeah.
and not, that was other places that didn't happen here.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it felt when I was a
Which is true
kid.
for most of us. That's what's conditioning, was social conditioning. But I feel like once we know better, like we do now, I
Yeah,
think the least we can do is, you know, really, really think about the whole problem and not just the part that's convenient for us here. Because yes, it's convenient for us to just be like, well, that's not our problem.
sure.
Terrorism is bad, whatever. Like it would be so easy to say that. And that's it. We shouldn't though. It's not right.
Yeah.
And I will argue with somebody about it. So I think I do a little bit of my part. And as much as I can do, I think. I don't know what else I can possibly do.
Well, I'm very entertained with the idea of the United States population deciding we dislike what's going on there so much that we decide that portion of our taxes don't need to get paid. But,
Yeah.
I'm a radical, but it's just all in my head. I'm not really involved in
Apparently,
the radical stuff. I don't know who those people are yet. Come find me.
you're not obviously not free to go to jail. Um, I, however, feel differently. At least while my kid is a minor, I'm scared to get too involved in things. But apparently, the Biden administration is imposing sanctions on Israel. So I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I understand that the situation is more complicated than just we should be involved or we shouldn't. Because what would happen if our ally asked us for help and then we said no? Like, if we look at it from a really like back outside perspective of it all, would that trigger then a war where we're on the other side, the losing side? I mean, maybe the right side, possibly, yeah, the right side morally, but do we really want to just get blown up to pieces? Like, you know what I mean? I just feel like it's more complicated than just like yes or no.
Sure. Of course, it's more complicated,
Yeah, I
but
wish it
it's
wasn't,
not
but
complicated to realize that what's happening to the people of Gaza right now shouldn't be happening.
yeah,
That
that's
is
very true.
distinctly uncomplicated.
Yeah,
Like,
morally to me, it's not
no.
complicated at all. Like
Right.
morally, I have no issues with it, but logically, that's where I'm like, okay, yes, I wish we could just like demand, like fight for the right side and all that stuff. Absolutely. But it's just they are technically allies and I don't like it. It's how the world works, unfortunately, until we fix it, because that's what men do. They start wars and shit. We
It
need
is
women
what,
to be in charge because it always
there you
comes
go.
back to the patriarchy. It makes me laugh whenever conservative is like, women shouldn't be president because we're hormonal. These are women I usually hear saying this bullshit because women are hormonal and they'll start wars for no reason. And it's like, but all wars have been started by men. Like, well, the
Right.
big, the current modern, because for sure not in all history. That's definitely not the case. But right now, we look at modern, like the world wars and all that stuff. They're always started by men. So if you're really going to go with that excuse, people always do that. They only look at a part of the picture, not the whole thing.
I mean, it's not easy to get the whole picture of something, even if you think you've tried.
But can't we think before we speak on the internet? Like,
Well, that's true.
these people say that shit with their whole chest just for the whole world to hear it.
I am actually very glad that the internet wasn't, or social media wasn't such a thing when I was younger and stupider.
Yeah.
It might have been harder to change some of my unthought through ideas if I had solidified myself with those ideas on the internet.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that the internet is not something. I'm glad it's something that I didn't have to deal with. I mean, not the least of which is that you are never like fully away from a problem. If you used to live somewhere and you had an issue with somebody, like a mother-in-law or whatever, like forever they're gonna be able to follow you. Or you embarrass yourself and it's on the internet, it's there forever.
Yeah, it sucks.
But there's benefits. I mean, again, just like everything else, it's just so complicated. Because
Yeah,
I know I couldn't live without the internet at this point. I don't even know how to get around without GPS. Like I don't even bother to try.
me neither. It's terrible.
I still use it in my town. Like it's that serious. That's why Antonio doesn't. He would not let me drive across the country by myself because he's like, you get lost going in a straight line. Like, what do you even think you're gonna do?
Oh no.
He wasn't wrong. I was all indignant at first because, like, excuse me, but at the same time, if I really think of, he's not wrong. Like, and there's too many places that I could lose signal.
It's true. It's true. It's shocking how many places you can still lose signal.
Yeah. When I try to do this too, I was taking our kid with us, so I had to like I couldn't just take his kid. So anyway, because yeah, he couldn't tell me what to do, but he that's his daughter. So anyway, but yeah, modern stuff, I don't think that that's something that a lot of it is stuff that I could give up. There's maybe some stuff, but the internet, I don't think we would survive very long. But you know what? Maybe that's how we control the population.
Oh boy.
Get rid of the internet. I worry sometimes
Oh,
that they're going to take it away from us because I think we're unifying too much for the comfort of the leaders of the world.
well, yeah. I think it's probably a little easier to direct traffic on there than we realize. Steer people away from things that might bring us together.
Is it working though? Because look at what's going on in the world.
Well, I don't know. I hope so. I mean, we also seem divided, so
Yeah.
eh.
Divided, but this is kind of, what, we should talk about this real quick. We're divided, but also weirdly unified. Like, we're divided in groups in the world, but it's like, as far as coming together, there's a lot more people able to come together now. Whenever the BLM protests were happening, they were happening everywhere. Like,
It's
I saw
true.
videos of them happening in Tokyo and Korea and Mexico. I don't remember Mexico, but like just all over the world, they were happening. And now the same thing is happening with the Gaza situation in support
Mm,
and probably in support of Israel too. But I know it's happening. The way what I've seen with my side of the internet is the people that are for Gaza like
yes.
vocalizing it all over the world. I think I saw one in like Brazil or something and Peru maybe. Like they're all over.
Yeah. Probably less so across the US for reasons.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm. Well,
but I
so
mean it's still happening here, just probably only in the bigger cities of the blue states, probably.
can I circle it from Gaza to Giza?
Yeah.
How's that for a segue? Um, okay, so I was looking at with the pyramids, I had come across the idea that they were aligned to a particular star constellation.
Hmm.
So it's the Orion correlation theory. Um, and according to Wikipedia, um, it's a proposal that the relative position of the three main pyramids on the Giza Plateau were correlated to three of the stars in Orion that are part of Orion's belt.
Hmm.
So there's the understanding that those constellations or that those stars appeared in about 10,000 BC.
BC.
Apparently. Yeah, I mean, there's this whole idea that like around 10,000 BC was some big shit happening on Earth with the Younger Dryas.
With the what?
The Younger Dryas. So it was
What's
like
that?
a time when the temperatures plunged like a real
Oh,
cold snap and then it came back up and it cold snapped again, I believe.
like in the whole planet? What's wrong?
Yes. Yes, except maybe not a smaller area by the equator. So kind of
Okay,
like
and this happened over like thousands of years.
it was quicker than that. Yeah, Younger Dryas. I think it's a little bit in the theoretical, because anything we're talking about that's 10,000 years ago or whatever is yeah, theoretical in a way. It's ancient history.
Oh, it's on Wikipedia. So something had. Let me see. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it occurred circa 12,009 to 11,700. So it was hundreds of years. It wasn't like how much was that? Like 80 years? I mean 800 years, not 800 years. So it was like
Yeah.
over a long period of time.
Yeah. Well, right. But hundreds versus tens of thousands, which is how we
Yeah.
generally think of the climate shifting. So
Yeah.
relatively quickly.
So it was the most severe and long lasting of several interruptions to the warming of the Earth's climate.
There are some who think that the Sphinx in Egypt was built more like 20,000 years ago, because some people have claimed that the wear pattern or the like, yeah, the wear, what am I trying to say? The erosion, the erosive pattern is indicative of a lot of heavy rain, which
Hmm.
the Giza Plateau does not see currently. Um, and is it that one that was intentionally buried? No, that was a different place. But yeah, the idea that potentially the Sphinx would have been from a time before the Younger Dryas, which, the Younger Dryas, if it warmed up pretty quickly too, could have led to some of the large flooding across huge swaths of the planet.
Oh
Not
yeah, because the
exactly a
snow melt.
Right. I mean, not exactly a global flood, but these things are in line with something that could lead to mythologies around
Yeah.
global floods that wiped everything out because for some people in those regions, they had experienced that and it had to have been terrible, and so out of those human experiences, we get flood mythologies that some people still think are, you know, telling us what we need to know about how to live our lives now. But it's interesting to see that, sometimes there is evidence geologically and such to show that these things could have happened and it could explain why it was so monumental that it ended up in our mythology for thousands of years because it had an impact on the humans who experienced it.
Yeah. Well, and I also still wonder, as and was when I hear things like this, it makes me think about it again. But I wonder how much of the mythology that's believed now was in like a parent's explanation to a child of like, Mom, why did everything flood so bad? Why do we live on a boat now? Well, someone named Jesus decided whatever, and or somebody named, like somebody said this thing, and then maybe at some point other things were attached to it. Maybe somebody was like, that's why our family lives in it with our dog and cat. And then the next like as it kept getting told more like repeatedly things, okay, well, it was two of every animal, two of every plant and whatever.
Right. You have to explain a hole that someone pokes in the story as it was.
Yeah, but I wonder how much of it started like as a child, like as a like not in this whole this like elaborate thing we might think of, and how much
Totally.
of our little the old lady that lived in the shoe is going to eventually turn into a mythology.
Yeah. I think capitalism is telling its own mythology, but maybe that's too far for this
Mm-hmm.
one. Well, okay, so
Wow.
interesting point about mythology stuff though, because in Egypt's history was Akhenaten, and it was in the 1300s BC that he was the pharaoh of Egypt. I don't remember if this was like when it was in North and South Egypt or what, but his whole thing was he threw everything into chaos when he decided that the current polytheistic situation
Oh.
needed to be overthrown somehow because he had knowledge of a single god that was like
Mm-hmm.
the originator of all of those other ones. And I don't know that that was the first instance of monotheism, because Zoroastrianism would have been previous to that, I think. I would need to look that up when Zoroastrianism was around. But for the time, it was pretty revolutionary to have Akhenaten come out with this idea that there was a single God. And so, but it didn't last long. Like he implemented it and forced everyone into it.
I
And
think it was a generation, or as the time he reigned. I remember coming across this too when we were studying ancient Egypt for homeschooling,
mm,
and it was when like the next person that took over after him, which at that time could have been 80 years, I don't know, but that next person reinstated, as far as I recall, the polytheistic um way to worship or whatever.
yeah, that sounds right.
But I think in the time it did start some serious shit. And the history we usually get is just of the royalty and stuff. What would it have done in the regular population?
Right.
It had to be a serious, big change.
Well, I came across the notion that some people are speculating like how likely is it that the Moses mythology of the Hebrew Bible could potentially be a bit of a retelling of this Akhenaten and or somehow connected to it, right? Because it's the
Yeah.
singular God Yahweh that's the top dog God.
Yeah. Oh, I was just looking up the aliens thing. I don't think we ever actually talked about.
Oh, good. Let's talk about aliens. Since that's what everyone wants to know about the pyramids, is that the aliens made them. Definitely aliens. Did you ever watch Ancient Aliens?
No. Is that a movie?
It's a documentary. There was the first couple seasons are worth watching if you can get a hold of it. It's
Okay.
pretty cool. They actually go into a lot of detail about the pyramids and other ancient sites and demonstrate how they are aligned to where, light shines through here and here in this little keyhole space, only on solstice, only on um, the equinoxes or something, right? So they're showing how these ancient people were very attuned to the stars and understanding what was happening in that cycle because they had these sacred sites that were there to mark the moment of the solstice or whatever.
Hmm.
So, but they, which I think can be studied from a lot of different ways, but Ancient Aliens definitely says, look at all these cool things, and this couldn't have been done by humans, so therefore aliens. Yeah. I think there's maybe a little bit of white supremacy going on in the Ancient Alien thing. Maybe super subtle, but I think it could stem from white people looking at these things in other places that are inhabited with brown people and being like, I mean, look at those primitives. They could never have built these structures. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I actually didn't think it. I actually don't think it's subtle. That's actually the only explanation for this theory that I have. I didn't even think that it could possibly be anything else. I always consider it as like, well, this is something that's made in Africa that was more advanced than what it was in, in some other places. So it had to be like it couldn't be Africans that did that thing before us.
Oh my God. Yeah, right?
I've always
Whoa.
believed it that way.
Okay. Well, that's good. And welcoming myself to the party late then. Well, because if you're not coming at it thinking about it in that way, oh yeah, God, how old was I when I watched this? Yeah, I don't know.
Documentary.
Yeah, when I watched Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, I mean, all I've ever come across is just basically like it's people just can't bring themselves to believe that this could have been done in ancient Egypt.
That is so interesting.
Oh, apparently some people here think that ancient aliens showed the humans how to do it.
Yes. Yeah, because there's a lot of imagery, inscriptions, and things in this Ancient Alien show where they'll point out figures that have kind of a bubble shaped thing around their
Mm.
head. And so they're trying to say that it was ancient astronauts.
Oh,
Yeah. Yes, that was definitely it. That it was ancient aliens that had come and given these technologies. But they had stories even up to, I would say, in the last 100 years where someone had been given special knowledge or technologies or something. And
hmm.
different, they featured different unexplainable things where stones were moved where it didn't seem possible.
Yeah, there are some things. Isn't Stonehenge one of them? Where some people are like, how could they have possibly done this without the technology it would take us to move it? So it had to be aliens or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's been posited, but I also think I've seen potential explanations. But that stone in Stonehenge did travel a really long distance, like to the tune of more than 100 miles, I think.
Do you believe it's aliens?
No, no.
I think it's more likely was a really bad flood, like a really violent, aggressive flood or something like that. Is well, maybe I don't know where it is geographically, but if it's in Europe, like there's everywhere in Europe is close to water. It's a very small continent.
It's true.
So the Atlantic Ocean could have just been having a tantrum that day and just or something like that. Maybe it couldn't have been wind, probably.
Well, remember we were talking about the younger Dryas. Well, if you have cold snaps that create massive glaciers that then melt and then freeze again, like you're not leaving the shorelines unchanged, right?
Yeah,
You're you're raising that and lowering that sea level a lot. And I just think, well, guess where most people would have lived? Closer to the shores.
yeah,
And so who knows, like that must have just totally disrupted human life,
yeah,
you know? So, I mean, to me, it seems likely, well, and there's like Atlantis, right? So to me, it seems
mm,
likely that there could have been civilizations that had worked out a whole bunch of interesting technologies and weren't modern, maybe in the sense that we think of modern now, but they were maybe advanced in different ways. Like, I'm not opposed to believing something like that. It'd be nice to have evidence of it. But, you know, if the climate did have that big couple of swoops in those few hundred years, that kind of would have changed things on planet
yeah.
Earth. And it makes sense for when we started having um, written records again,
Mhm.
if it was again. I mean, I'm getting a little conspiracy theory about this. I just I just went for Atlantis, so we got
Well,
there.
I wrote Atlantis in our conspiracy list on the document because I
Oh,
absolutely wanted, I hadn't even thought of it. We absolutely want to do a rabbit hole about that
nice.
because I don't know enough about it. I saw a movie once, it was a cartoon, where like a scientist accidentally found Atlantis or something, but that's as much as I know. But I would love to actually, because I'm sure if people are deep diving into the, what's his name or their name, the big gorilla that lives here, Bigfoot, if people are like doing deep research and writing articles and stuff about that, there has to be people that did it about Atlantis.
Oh, for sure. For sure. There's so much
Mm.
out there. Well, we're about out of time here. All right, well, thanks for joining us for whatever that was as we researched on the fly and rabbit trailed as we wanted to. So, I think it was a good example of being blunt in our bedroom. What do you think?
Agreed.
Okay. All right. It was fun chatting. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.